the National Assembly with respect to some of the resolutions they passed upon resumption after a 2-month recess. And we'll join this morning, as you might have seen in the opening sequence there, Zik Obi joins us now. He's a capital market analyst and also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, the House just picked up the gauntlet in the manner of speaking and went ahead and made those categorical resolutions about the Securities and Exchange Commission, the CBN functions. Mr. Mohammed also explained what their position is on the Farouk Lawan matter. But starting off with the CBN approach, what they decided. Do you, for instance, say that aligns with the position of, quote-unquote, overwhelming majority of Nigerians?
Well, let me say, first of all, that what the CBN is doing appears to be in accordance with what the CBN Act provides for. But having said that, we also know that the National Assembly can make laws on the good governance of this country. And if you look at the schedule, the second schedule to the Constitution, one of those matters is the issue of currency and the issuance of currency. So I think that both of them need to work together to be able to get us what we want. Now, CBN has come up with this policy, which many members of the public appear to be opposed to. CBN has tried to explain why the project must go on. They've given their reasons. They've said it wouldn't cause inflation, that people need it. But one major issue is, if you're dealing with the cashless society you're trying to start on, don't you think you should at least run that out? Let's go see how it works before we even start introducing any new measures. So far, the cashless thing appears to be working in Lagos only. Why don't they, first of all, get it around the entire country?
Yeah, but it's got its major challenge in Lagos.
Yes, but there are many other areas where you also have a lot of cash being moved around. Go to the east, for instance, go to Onitsha, go to Newe. There are many towns where people deal a lot on cash. So I think it's important that they try to let this policy go around first. Let's see how it works. You can't be talking about cashless society on the one hand, and at the same time, you're trying to encourage people to carry higher denominations. I listened to the spokesman on the media talk about people being able to, no, he is opposed to it. But the issue that has been made was that people can now move money more easily. You can put in 1 million naira in this pocket, another 1 million here, and then move around. Nobody knows. But that's not the point. If we are dealing with a cashless society where you just issue your card or issue a check, then obviously there is no need for that. But most importantly, the timing, I believe, is wrong. The timing is wrong. There are so many other problems of this country. The majority of the citizens of this country obviously are not well off economically. And bringing in this kind of process or policy that will only benefit a tiny few.
Is it going to impoverish the others?
Not necessarily impoverishing them. I mean, most of them will never have anything to do with it anyway. I don't see how many of them will want to carry a 5,000 naira note. In fact, if you ask them, some of them will say, suppose I carry it and I lose it. What happens? Or I want to buy something and I say, I want change. And the person says, I don't have 4,000 something to give you. So for most people in the lower sector, none of them will ever touch it. But whether they touch it or not, the point is, why take this policy at this time?
But don't we always greet the CBN policy with some amount of skepticism or, reluctance? The cashless policy, when it was also introduced, the question is, how is it going to work? There's a lot of kicking, even from the House of Representatives. There was some kicking against it as well. So isn't this the same resistance? For instance, now, the CBN maintains that it doesn't change the amount of money they're going to be spending on printing currencies yearly. For instance, 2 years ago, they spent 47 billion naira printing fresh currencies, and the following year they have to do the same thing. They say they're going to be cutting costs if they bring in larger currencies for, say, the people where the cashless policy hasn't been introduced yet.
Well, it may well be true. When they introduced the other one, and there were oppositions even from the House. But as time went on, people saw it. You know, one thing about the public and the House, CBN comes up with a policy. There are many people who, even without considering whether it is good or not, criticizes it. Maybe they look at the way these things are introduced. I would imagine that if there's some sensitization in advance before these things are done, it probably might help. But, you know, under the law, CBN can always brief the House. The Act provides that they need to brief the House at least twice annually and then let them know what they want to do, the two committees of the House. If they do this, I'm sure it will go a long way in softening the area. But when you just suddenly, from nowhere, you bring up a policy, even though they have the power, because the Act says that they need to do that with the approval of the President. It doesn't say anything about National Assembly. But knowing that the National Assembly can also make a law or pass a law that will negate what you're doing, it's always important to work with the National Assembly on this matter. Like where we are now, both houses says don't do it.
And that is why people are confused. Or why is it that it is only, well, in the majority from the CBN that we're getting to see people routing for this particular 5,000 naira? Almost all experts outside the CBN don't seem to see the good in this 5,000 naira denomination.
Well, it's like I said, I think they consider what the views of the majority of Nigerians are in taking that position. And personally, I don't think I need that amount of money in order to carry that kind of note. But if it comes and I have no choice, I'll carry it. But again, the point is, it the time to do that? There are lots of problems in this country. I'm sure if things were working well in this country, economically, and the rest of them, people will not bother so much. But when you know people are facing economic challenges, massive challenges in this country, people don't have jobs, people can't even feed themselves. Most people can't even find the money. And then you're talking about 5,000 naira notes.
And the new one is they may likely introduce coins, ATM that dispense coins. Wouldn't that also be novel and quite steps ahead for us in our monetary policy?
Well, let me say about the coins. You know, we know what happened to the coins that they introduced before. Nobody actually used them. Now, let's assume that you introduce coins of 20 naira. And you need to carry 1,000 naira in 20 naira. Now, if you're carrying 20 naira notes, I think about 50 of that in your pocket. But now, to carry coins, you need to go and get a bag. You will suddenly find that people will not use the money. And in any case, I don't know whether they've also considered the other political angle that has come into that.
Which is
the 5 naira. I think the 5 naira is Balewa. And then the 10 naira is Alvan Ikoku. 20 naira is Murtala Mohammed. You are going to scrap all this? And this someone like Mohammed is somebody we know what role he's played in this country.
But can't they still have them on the coins?
On coins.
Isn't that feasible?
It is feasible, but they have not told us that.
So what would you rather have?
Well, I think that honestly,
with respect to the 5,000 naira notes. With respect to the 5,000 naira
yes.
notes, what would you rather have? That he comes up with it or suspend it?
No, suspend it. Suspend it until let's do further work on it. Suspend it for now. I mean, with the hue and cry over it, it should be suspended.